What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Episode number 39, Big Five Pod. We are really moving along here. We're into April, in the off season. Still a lot to talk about, though, so we're going to get right into it. I'm, of course, your co-host, Kyle Morello. Next to me, co-host Jake Copestick. Cope, as always, how we doing?
Yeah, we're doing well. Like I said, just before we click record, we haven't had games for over a week now. National championship was played last Monday. We are now Thursday the week after, and we still have a ton to talk about. Player news, the Big Five awards. We just had a big press conference that we'll talk about. So still plenty to talk about, even in the off season. But I'm doing well, and I'm doing well because I'm not a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. I just have to watch them, and they are not very good right
now. Yikes. Listen, couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. I'm a Mets fan. Not that they're doing the best right now. They're still complaining in Mets world. It is not the Phillies, though. It's also not the Clown Ballers of Heyday Athletic opening day tonight on Thursday night. 29-0 victory. It was thank you. It was, I don't know if there's words to describe the beatdown. It was we overmatched them, I would say. I did hit a home run. I think it was my first ever home run ever in any level of play. So thank you. It was nice to barrel one up. So yeah, that's that. Yeah. Baseball's going well for some people, not so much for others, but it's okay. We're talking about basketball, so let's get right into it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, first and foremost, you and I, and of course our dear friend Buzz Wilson, went to the Big Five unveiling at the Wells Fargo Center on Tuesday morning. Very cool event, I must say. We were on the floor of the Wells Fargo Center. There was some Villanova court in the background. They lowered the scoreboard there. And obviously they announced that the Big Five is coming to the Wells Fargo Center. The first triple header ever there will be Saturday, December 2nd. We're very, very excited about that. So let's go over it. Obviously, Drexel added to the mix now. They are the sixth member of the Big Five. The name is staying the same. Don't worry. We don't have to change the name of the podcast. You don't have to change the name of your lexicon in your brain. It is the Big Five through and through. But the way they're doing this is there's two pods, three teams in each pod. So the first pod is Temple, LaSalle, and Drexel. And the second pod is Villanova, St. Joseph's, and Penn. So those three teams will each play each other. Obviously, they'll, for example, Temple will have a game against LaSalle, a game against Drexel, all the way through. And then for the triple header, they will have a first and second place game. They'll have a third and fourth place game, a fifth and sixth place game. So very exciting stuff. It was really, really cool to see. Fran Duffy pretty much gave the remarks there, and the owners, not the owners, the higher ups of Comcast Spectacor. And then obviously Fran Duffy gave his remarks. Zach Spiker came up and officially accepted Drexel's bid into the Big Five. They had the banner raising, the streamers, which is very cool. Overall, just a great day. So Cope, not even just on the day itself, I do definitely want to hear your thoughts on that, but in terms of the new format, what are we thinking here?
So my main takeaway is I actually came away excited. I think when we first saw this format, we just wanted to shoot it down immediately. Everybody pretty much had negative things to say about it, to the point where all the schools had to put out a collective statement that basically said, like, hey, nothing's finalized just yet. We've been talking about something like this, but nothing's finalized just yet. But I came away excited. It was really cool to be in the Wells Fargo Center, to have everybody there. It really was a cool event, and it the Big Five felt important again. It felt like it was important, and it was cool to have everybody up there. It was cool to have a formal introduction of Drexel and Zach Spiker up there, and I think it's actually going to be pretty cool. There's still going to be Big Five games. I think now that you have a pod, and it sucks they're not going to be at the Palestra, but you're still going to have these Big Five rivalry games played on campus. Each team's going to have a home game and an away game. So I think these games now have a little bit more meaning to them, because now you're going to have the big games at the Wells Fargo Center. But, to play for the Big Five championship now, those games are going to mean a little bit more. So I think the Big Five needs it. Sure, we might not be the biggest fans because we just like the round robin. We want them to all play each other. We want to see games at the Palestra. But it just needed some juice. It needed to be reignited here, and it feels like that's what we're gonna get. Dunphy had a lot of really good things to say. I really like what he had to say when he was up there. First thing that really stood out to me was he said, we need to promote this. We need to tell people about how special this is, and how how cool this is. There's not another city that's doing this. You have the Bean Pot up in Boston with hockey, but there's nothing else that replicates the Big Five and what we have in the city of Philadelphia. So I was able to catch up with Fran Dunphy at the reception afterwards, and I asked him, I said, Coach, when you say promote this, promote what we have here, players, coaches, administrators, people like us who are members of the media, how do we do that? How do we put that into practice? And here's what he had to say.
I just think people are talking about the uniqueness of Philadelphia college basketball, that now all 6 teams in the city of Philadelphia will play each other. And the biggest defining piece to all of that is the respect that we have for each other. It's almost as if when you get to be a coach in a Big Five school, all those people that came before you, their philosophies, you must take on. And so I think that the respect is awesome. It's admirable. It's what we all should be doing with everybody else that we come in contact.
All right, that was LaSalle head coach Fran Dunphy on how we can promote the Big Five a little bit. And one more thing that really stood out to me about this was they have plans to keep this for a long time. This is basically something that they're locked into for like 12 years, this type format. The pods are going to switch here and there. I believe they're going to alternate every 2 years. So we're probably going to see this format this year and next year. Some that I guess is it worries me a little bit. They don't have a TV deal in place just yet. This is going to take place on Saturday, December 2nd at the end of the college football season, in which the AAC championship game is actually going to be played this day. So I guess the thought there is, ESPN is going to want to pick up a conference championship game like the AACs, and it's going to have those mid-majors, maybe that an SEC is on, CBS, some of your bigger ones that are going to be on other stations. But I think ESPN's going to pick up a lot of football. I know they say football is king in America. It sounds like ESPN is going to.
Well, I think they do have the rights. I think they do have the rights to the AAC championship game.
Right. So I would think that this is easily something you could put on NBC Sports, and you could broadcast locally and regionally. But I would hope at some point it just turns into something that can be a bigger thing. I was talking to some people that I work with that live in California. I had to explain the Big Five to them. I think at some point, maybe it's more of a dream, but we live for that not to be a thing. We want to promote this. We want everybody to know about this to the point where it can be a nationally televised thing. It can be in an NBA arena, and there can be a lot of excitement around it. And everybody in the country can kind of be captivated about what we have here. And maybe in different cities trying to implement this as well. So all around a very fun day, a day you just came away being excited. I originally didn't like the idea, and it got me excited about it. And it got me looking forward to it and say, hey, let me give this a chance, because this could be really, really good in the long run. When I was talking to Coach Dunphy, I got to ask him one more question. I said to him, so now that you have this format, and intentionally you and St. Joseph's are on the other side of these pods to try and lessen the chance that these two teams will play for a third time. Obviously, they're going to play 2 Atlantic 10 games. So there was conversations last year with Fran Dunphy and Billy Lang about just scrapping home games for the LaSalle St. Joe series and just playing both conference games with the Palestra. So I asked Fran Dunphy about that as well. And now that this tournament's nailed down, and they know that they probably won't be playing St. Joe's a third time, or at least the chances of that are lesser than if they were in the same pod. I asked them if that's now a possibility and something they have that is in motion now with the LaSalle and St. Joe's A-10 games being played at the Fletcher. Here's what he had to say.
Well, when I said to the group here that we have work to do, I think there's other things that we can do to make this even better than people think it can be. So that might be one of them. It can take some sacrifice by each school. Yeah, it will. But if we all come together on it, then I think it can do nothing but help Philadelphia college basketball, and that's where I like to see it go.
All right, again, that was LaSalle head coach Fran Dunphy, who was nice enough to take some time at the reception afterwards to talk to us. And yeah, I mean, hey, like I said, I'm excited. I'm excited. I think this could be a really, really good thing for the Big Five. As much as we're going to miss the old school traditions of it and the Palestra and all that, you're definitely excited. And what a nice touch at the end to have streamers in there. Everybody's up there. They have the banner. They throw streamers. And as the great Speedy Morris once said, who is a former LaSalle head coach, the streamers, as they are as traditional as a Philly cheesesteak, soft pretzels or tasty cakes. So that was a very, very nice touch as a note to Philadelphia and the Big Five with the streamers there.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And I really like the point you made about, trying to make the Big Five known, not just around here, all over the place too. But I think the biggest thing is it has to mean something again to everyone around here.
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing. And obviously, it doesn't mean nothing to people. Like people know about it. Obviously, the biggest fans like you and I and other people who follow the Big Five closely, like they'll be at the games regardless. Wherever you put them, you can put them on Mars, they'll go, they'll be there. But it's getting people who are either casual fans or like just know about it to get there to the Wells Fargo Center and even to the colleges too for the games before the triple header. But making it big in the city is just a huge thing that has to happen. And I think this is going to be a really big step because it's kind of reinvigorating the love for the Big Five here in the city of Philadelphia. So very exciting things. It was a great day. That's all I really got to say about that. Before Tuesday, though, was Monday night, the Big Five Awards banquet, which took place. So we're going to go over some of the awards right now that were given out on this night. All right. Coach of the Year, Fran Dunphy from LaSalle. He's kind of won those quite a few times. So he is Mr. Big Five. No surprise here, though. He definitely helped us out turn around this year. Player of the Year, obviously no surprise, Jordan Dingle from Penn, Ivy League Player of the Year, second leading scorer in America. Goes without saying. Rookie of the Year, Cam Whitmore, Villanova. It's going to be a lottery pick in the NBA draft. I don't think there's any surprise there either. There was co-most improved players of the year, Cameron Brown from St. Joseph's and Nick Spinoso from Penn. So congratulations to them. Both had very, very good years. And then the Scholar Athlete of the Year was Caleb Daniels from Villanova. So shout out to Caleb for keeping your grades up. We love to see it. All right, first and second teams. Now, there's actually 6 people on the first team, which is kind of interesting. But Jordan Dingle, Eric Reynolds from St. Joseph's, Eric Dixon from Villanova, Damian Dunn from Temple, who obviously is now with Houston, Cleo Brantley from LaSalle, and Caleb Daniels with Villanova. And the second team, Linger from St. Joseph's, Justin Moore, a little bit surprised considering he didn't come back until January, but he made second team. Cam Whitmore, Cameron Brown, and Josh Nickelberry from LaSalle. So, Cope, any surprises here? Oh, wait, there's a little bit more too. Leading scorer, obviously, Jordan Dingle. Best free throw shooter was Brandon Slater, 91.8%. Women's Player of the Year, Maddie Segrist, who got drafted that night too. I forget by who exactly. If you saw it,
Is the Dallas Wings.
Dallas
Very
Wings,
good
thank you.
reasons to not be there, by the way.
Yes, very good reason.
I'm sure that was an excused absence for that.
Yes, we knew she wasn't going to be there for it, but obviously it was going to be known that she was the Women's Player of the Year for the Big Five. But as far as the teams and the awards go, any surprises here that you saw?
Not really. I guess you're right. Justin Moore came back so late, still getting second team, but at the same time, like you saw just how much different, how much better of a team they were, and how much different they were when they had a healthy Justin Moore at full strength. And then a couple of things I want to point out here. First of all, while we're on the subject, we might as well talk about Cam Whitmore. He did declare for the draft, so
Yes.
He's officially out of Villanova. The only thing we were missing was a formal announcement. Obviously, him not playing in the NIT game against Liberty was pretty much an indicator that he was packing it in, was going to start getting ready for the draft. But we hadn't heard an official statement, so that was the only thing we were missing. But now the assumed, I guess, is out there and official. And also, this is just kind of a pet peeve I have. Why is there 6 players on the first team? Why do we do this?
It's weird.
Do you ever see like power conferences? The first team is like 9 or 10 players. Like what's the point? What's the
Like
point?
imagine the first team all NBA being like 9 people, 10 people.
That would be crazy. Look, five players apiece. 5 players apiece. It's supposed to be hard here. You know what I mean? You take Caleb Daniels, you take somebody off this list. That doesn't mean they weren't really good. They weren't one of the best players in the city. But
Or make a third team.
You can only have 5 guys. What about a third team? Why don't we just do that? But regardless, a lot of guys on here were deserved, and it was no brainers. Eric Dixon was terrific. How about the year Eric Reynolds had, and how about the year that he's going to have next year with all the guys they have coming in, and he'll be the pretty much the leader. Him and Cameron Brown on a team that's going to bring in some really exciting freshmen. Obviously, Dingle, the second leading scorer in Division One, who might not come back to the Big Five. He might be headed for a pro career. And then really happy to see Khalil Brantley on here. I talked about him preseason, how he could be the top dog, the leading scorer for this LaSalle team, and he delivered and was spectacular this year. And he's only going to keep growing as he plays under Fran Dunphy. So very, very happy to see him up here. And then see that we have most improved players. How about Nick Spinoso? Really, really good this year. Able to rebound, able to score in deep a little bit. And how about his ability to pass out of the post, which was awesome this year. And likes to run a lot of weak side, a lot of off-ball action, some flare screens. Nick Spinoso was able to throw some behind-the-back passes too. And he really showed that he's more than just a big guy to grab boards and score in deep. His vision and his IQ was huge this year. So that's deserving. And hey, Cameron Brown was on a tear. Unfortunately, fell off a little bit, had a bumpy, I guess, late end to the season. But hey, that he got off to a hot start in the middle of the season. That guy was scorching hot. Was almost creeping towards shooting 50% from three. So much deserved from him. No problems with this list, though. Let's just keep it to 5 guys a team, is all I'll say.
No, I agree. I mean, it was bizarre seeing 6 people. I don't know why some conferences do that or more. I mean, like the All-American teams are 5 apiece. I don't know what the deal is here, but we're just here to send the message. I don't know. We don't make the awards. Maybe we can do our own awards one year, but I don't know. Well, it's out of our jurisdiction.
Yeah,
as
it's
we'll
not
say.
not our decision.
No. But shout out to all those players. Congratulations to all those players. Very, very hard earned. Great year you all had, and looking forward to who's going to be on these teams and these awards next year. So that is a wrap on that. All right, some I don't even want to say coach movement. Well, there's a little bit of coach movement, but a very interesting hire at Villanova that I do want to go over. Well, they did 2 hires. We can go over the first one first. Ashley Howard, former LaSalle head coach. He's joining the coaching staff, replacing George Halkovich, who is obviously going on off to Buffalo. We know Ashley Howard. He didn't coach this year in the Big Five, but he did coach a few previous years. So Cope, I know you're a big fan of Ashley Howard from his days at LaSalle. What do you think of this?
Yeah, so it makes total sense. If you know anything about Villanova, look what they just did last year when Jay Wright retired. They hired one of their own. They hired a guy who'd been there, Kyle Neptune, and they're going to do the same exact thing here. They keep it in the family, so to speak, and they like to hire their own. This is what they do. And a guy that was out of coaching that was working with the Friends of Nova NIL Collective. More on that in a little bit. But he took a year off from coaching, so I'm sure this is a move that Ashley Howard wanted to make. Took a year to kind of rest and decompress a little bit after his coaching tenure at LaSalle, where he had to go through the pandemic. It's a tough job as it is right now with the Explorers. But one thing I will say, this guy is extremely passionate. He's going to coach these guys hard. Obviously, they're going to respect him and they're going to play hard for him and the rest of the coaching staff. But just feel bad that it didn't work out at LaSalle. This guy cared. I mean, this guy poured everything he had into the LaSalle Explorers, and unfortunately it just didn't work out. But happy to see him back on his feet in the Big Five at Villanova. And he had a ton of success. I mean, he was here for both. He was here for the 2016 and 2018 National Championship games. Great recruiter. He was a guy that found Colin Gillespie. And he, as he said in an Inquirer article, maybe looked like a genius. So we know the guy can recruit. He's been a part of, some of the best teams at Villanova and some of the best teams in college basketball history. So what this guy brings. And for a guy like Kyle Neptune, who's only going into his 3rd year being a head coach, having a guy like Ashley Howard on the bench with you, who's not only got the head coaching experience, plenty of assistant coaching experience at a variety of schools. He went to Drexel. He's a Philly guy that went to Bonner Pendergrast. And obviously has some his head coaching experience as well. So really, really good hire here for a guy that I'm sure is very eager to get back into coaching after taking the year off and trying to get into, well, not trying, he was helping run the Friends of Nova NIL Collective that we'll talk a little bit more about now. Why don't you introduce the next hire for it?
Yeah, I was fascinated to see this, and I'm going to let you explain a lot of it because, I think this is a very new position in college basketball. But Baker Dunleavy was hired as the general manager of Villanova men's and women's basketball. And obviously, some people watching will be like, what are we talking about? A GM of a college basketball team? Well, I mean, now with all these NIL deals and such, there's got to be people to help, navigate the money and navigate who gets what and kind of run programs a little bit differently. So, what can you tell us about this hire? Because this is really, really interesting and a new thing in college basketball.
Yeah, so it's certainly very new. So what Baker Dunleavy is going to be doing, he's going to be representing the men's and the women's basketball teams, and he's going to essentially be like the NIL liaison and coordinator of. So I'll read you the quote about his responsibilities, and then I'll break it down from there. So he will focus on, quote, opportunities and education around name, image, and likeness, the transfer portal, student athlete brand building and marketing, and advancing institutional fundraising in partnership with university advancement. So what that means, obviously, he's going to be helping these players try and get NIL deals. It's not only the process of helping them get these business deals, whether that be for, a business that wants to pay them. Maybe it's some nonprofit work. Maybe it's, hey, I've seen a bunch of people, they do these college players, they run their own basketball camps in the summer. Maybe it's helping out with stuff like that. But building their brand, educating them on what that looks like, what to do with social media, how to build your following that way. The transfer portal obviously is big. And something that really hit me about reading this article was these coaches are having to shoulder this at the same time and balance coaching and recruiting and these NIL responsibilities as well. So what this position creates is it allows the coaches and the support staff to focus more on that. And now you have a guy at Villanova and Baker Dunleavy, whose role and responsibilities are strictly on NIL, and he can take some of that burden off them. So not only is it the NIL, not only is it the personal branding, but he'll probably be helping Jay Wright a lot, who's now the special assistant to the president of Villanova, in fundraising, not only for the university, but for the athletic department and for the basketball teams as well. So it goes beyond just getting business deals and getting the players paid, if you will. But it's very, very new. Last year, before the college basketball season started, Duke actually hired a lady. Her name is Rachel Baker. Funny enough, she actually went to LaSalle University. She played in the lacrosse team. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in communication. And she worked for Nike on their grassroots leagues in the Nike Elite Youth Basketball League. She also worked with KD. And his shoe brand, how they could build strategic initiatives through Nike and for Kevin Durant. So she brought a lot of different experience, not only working for a big brand like Nike, she worked for the NBA for a year, doing a lot of tech stuff. But because she worked for a brand like that and she worked on a lot of marketing initiatives, they created this position and brought her in because of her experience there. But it's just something new. You need to know how to manage it. It's the Wild West right now. There's no rules really around NIL. It's just kind of like you do whatever you want. So Duke brought in somebody like Rachel Baker, who's got plenty of ties with different brands, especially a huge one like Nike that Duke obviously has a huge relationship with. And they were basically like, look, like, just help us figure this out. Help us build these guys' brands. Help them get deals. Just figure out what this looks like for these players and take that burden off us. Villanova, to my knowledge, is only the second school to do this. And I think you're going to see a lot more of this. This is definitely going to be a big trend with NIL being so big. What I talked about a little bit earlier was actually Howard working with his Friends of Nova NIL collective. That was a separate entity from the school. Baker Dunleavy is now going to be working directly with the school. It kind of gives people a point of contact at the university. If you're an alumni, you want to give money. If you're a business, you want to contact players. Now you have somebody at the university you can go through. Because now it's like you have players that maybe just get a DM about a business promotion. Some guys get represented. So there's a lot of different ways to do this, and now Villanova has their own guy to do it. So long story short, because that was a lot of explaining.
Okay.
Now there's somebody at Villanova to do this, handle this, take responsibility off the coaches, and now there's somebody at the university at the disposal for all the players, men's and women's, especially specifically the basketball team in this instance. If they ever need help with this stuff, and they can use Baker Dunleavy as a resource to help them get NIL deals and just kind of to help them understand what's going on here. So it's a unique hire. I was really interested in this because, like I said, I saw Rachel Baker get hired last year, and I said, "Wow, like that's pretty cool." I wonder if other people are gonna follow suit and do this. Seems like it's gonna be pretty important. And sure enough, we have Villanova follow suit as well. But I'm telling you, this is going to be a trend, and a lot of other schools are going to do this with just how big NIL is. You need somebody on campus. You need somebody to look out for your players, and you need someone at your school to help out your student athletes with this. So this is a very interesting hire. And again, another Villanova guy who's been there before, who now comes back, who knows the community very well, who knows the people, staff, and the players very well. So it's one of Villanova's own coming back. I think he's going to do a good job with this, given his relationships around the area. But it's certainly a unique hire and one that a lot of other schools are going to follow suit with. And almost treat it like it's a pro sports team. College sports becoming a business now. You're going to see more positions like this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, NIL is making college basketball a business, and a lot of people are not like that because there's some purists out there who pretend that they didn't get paid already illegally before this. But NIL is the big thing. NIL's what's going to make people come to your school. It's going to make people stay at your school. Miami had, this year, I think one of the largest NIL, expenditures in the country. And, I'm not saying that was the only reason why those players were there, but look what happened. They made a Final Four. They had a great team. This stuff works, especially when you have blue blood programs like Duke and Villanova. So I think this is a great hire. And I agree with you. I do think a lot of teams are going to follow suit, maybe slowly, maybe quickly. I'm not really sure, but it's, I think objectively a good thing. I know not everybody will agree with me, but I think it's a good thing for college basketball. Because these players can earn money and it makes them stay longer too. They don't just have to go chasing the draft. And the NBA collective bargaining agreement, they might agree to make the age for the draft 18 again, so that might also help too. But it's I think it's a good thing. So good on Villanova for making this hire. All right, we got some players news now. Obviously the transfer portal is going crazy, so let's get right into this. First, we got a couple Temple guards here. Heiser Miller staying in the city of Philadelphia, where he should be, to be honest with you. Caleb Battle, however, is out. He is transferring to Arkansas. Was definitely on his list from the rumors that we've all heard. So Cope, I would say let's go over Heiser Miller first, but I kind of want to do both in the same breath here. How important is this for Adam Fisher that he got one of Philly's own rather, to stay put?
Yeah, this is huge, and this lines up exactly with what Adam Fisher wants. He wants to recruit guys from this area. Well, guess what? Now you can keep a guy who's going into his junior year. You get a guy from Philadelphia who's now going into his junior year. You get a veteran point guard that now you don't have to fill. It's going to make building this roster a lot easier. It's going to make his transition a lot easier, having an experienced point guard like Heiser Miller in the fold here. So, he came on late in the year when Caleb Battle stepped away. He had to step up a little bit more. Whether that's facilitating, whether that's scoring, shooting the three, he showed a lot of strides. I'm excited for what he can do next year, but absolutely huge. Get him back. We kind of knew that Jamil Reynolds was out the door, that Damian Dunn was probably out the door with the offers he was getting. We already knew Caleb Battle was out the door, but Zach Hicks and Heiser Miller are the priorities for Adam Fisher, and he was able to get Heiser Miller and potentially get Zach Hicks back as well. But absolutely huge to get Heiser Miller back and bring back a veteran point guard going into his junior year to make that transition easier for Adam Fisher. And then for Caleb Battle, I love Eric Musselman, probably my favorite coach. Me being a Duke and a Nova guy with Jay Wright and Coach K out of the fold now. I mean, Eric Musselman is probably my favorite coach in college basketball. He's terrific. He's a terrific recruiter. These guys, his teams play hard. They play hard, and that to me is what is a huge component of what makes a great coach. Those guys will go to battle for him. You look at the success he's had, Sweet 16 this year, 2 Elite Eights the years before that. And the thing I love about this, he has such a high hit rate with transfers. That's how he builds his teams. Even when he was at Nevada, that team he had that made the Sweet 16, all transfers, pretty much. Only played 5 guys that year because Lindsey Drew kept getting hurt. That was all transfers. This is what he does. And he could take a guy like Caleb Battle, who may have had some off-the-court issues. If there's somebody that can get him right, it's going to be him. And they have a need for him. They certainly have a role for him. Ricky Council, Anthony Black, now who declared for the draft yesterday, right after Caleb Battle announced he was going to transfer to Arkansas. Nick Smith. All these guys are declaring for the draft. Devo Davis might be gone. Jordan Walsh, there's still no announcement on yet. They need scoring. They need some pop on the wing. And Caleb Battle is going to give that for him. He's got to commit though, because I'm telling you, Eric Musselman's had such a high hit rate with transfers that if this doesn't work, I'm not going to be Eric Musselman's fault, because this guy works with. I mean, he takes anybody and it works, and they gel and they get better as the season goes on. But he fills a need. He's going to get a lot of playing time here, and he's going to be a very integral part for a team that's got not just tournament aspirations, legitimate Final Four national championship aspirations in Fayetteville. You look at the players they're bringing in. They get Keon Menafield from Washington, a small scoring guard who can score in bunches. A huge get with Tremont Mark from Houston, who can score and defend. And they get a big stretch forward in Jeremiah Davenport from Cincinnati. Caleb Battle's going to fit in great there. I think it's a great spot for him. He's going to a coach that's got a great track record, not only with transfers, but when he's been in Arkansas, they've been a very, very good team and a legit tournament contender. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this works out. But I think Caleb Battle just made a dynamite move down to play for the Razorbacks and Eric Musselman.
I think he'll have success there. I mean, Eric Musselman doesn't miss, like you said. So it's going to be really interesting how it all plays out. I mean, Tremont Mark obviously is a huge addition to Jeremiah Davenport coming up from Cincinnati, someone we've seen in the AAC the last few years. But yeah, full disclosure, I put a future on them today. I did after the Davenport news. Not that I'm saying the Davenport news is, not that he's going to be like an insane star or whatever, but he played okay at Cincinnati. I think he'll be a good bench piece for them. 20-1
might
on
still get guys coming back.
Yeah.
Devo Davis might come back. I think it'd be wise for Jordan Walsh to come back because he can start on this team and continue to boost his draft stock. But you look at the track record, Ricky Council last year, probably going to get drafted 6th man at Wichita State AAC 6th man of the year. The year before, has JD Note, comes from Jacksonville. Dynamite score. Awesome for that Elite 18 that upset Gonzaga that had Timmy and Chet Holmgren. Brings in Stanley Amude from South Dakota, who's bouncing between the G League and the NBA. Brings in these guys from all over, and it works. And they gel and they get better as the season goes on. And they play their best basketball at the right time. I love it. There's a proven track record here. And I think Caleb Battle saw that and said, hey, if I want to play at the next level, if I want to keep developing my game, this guy's got a pretty damn good track record of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely does. All right. Speaking of one more Temple guy in the transfer portal right now, Zach Hicks. He has set his Final Four yesterday, according to our guy Javon Edmonds. Shout out to Javon. He is considering coming back to Temple. Temple is in his Final Four, along with Georgetown, Penn State, and UTEP. So obviously some big names there, some smaller names there too, and of course somewhere he called home for the last few years. Personally, I could see it going either way. I could definitely see him coming back, just because it's somewhere he's been. Heiser Miller's back now, so someone he's obviously familiar with too, obviously, and some of the teammates that are remaining there. But Ed Cooley at Georgetown now, Mike Rhodes at Penn State, big names. UTEP, we'll see. He can definitely get a lot of playing time there. I think it could go either way. I don't really know where I'm leaning here. If I had to pick one, selfishly, I'd probably say Temple, but you never know. Obviously, some of the caliber programs in there. So, what do you think Zach Hicks does?
I would like to see him come back to Temple because there's a spot for him to start and play big minutes here. But here's the thing: he's certainly good enough to go play to Georgetown or at Penn State. I mean, he's absolutely good enough. He's got the size to play in a major conference. He's got the 3-point ability to play in a major conference. On those 2 traits alone, he will get playing time and be productive. So, obviously, he's from Camden. He's been here. Logically, I think it makes sense for him to come back, and I believe that's what he'll do. But it wouldn't shock me in the slightest to see him go to a Georgetown or a Penn State because he's good enough to play there. And if he wants to challenge himself and he wants to move up, then unfortunately nobody can blame him because he's that good, and he's probably too good for the AAC, to be honest with you. He can certainly go up a level. So I think he'll come to Temple. I think he's best served here. Hey, you heard what Adam Fisher said. Let's play up and down. Let's shoot threes. If you want to play that way, if you get Zach Hicks, you got a damn good guy to help you run that system. So
absolutely,
I think he'll come back to Temple because I think Adam Fisher will re-recruit him very hard and his selling point will be you're going to be a key component to our success. But the way I want to play you fit that exactly. He'll be great in transition, run into the wing to get open looks, fill in a lane. So I think he'll come back to Temple. Obviously, he can play at a higher level, but he's closer to home, and he's going to play in a system that's going to fit his skill set pretty well. So I think he'll come back to Temple. He's going to fit exactly what Adam Fisher wants to do.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. I agree. 100% agree. All right. Couple more things here. This could be a very, very interesting one. So Washington State transfer TJ Bamba announced on, I believe it was Monday, that on Friday he's going to make his decision. And his finalists, last two teams, were Villanova and Georgia Tech. Now we've been seeing a lot of, some of these recruiting websites have these crystal ball reports, these crystal ball predictions, and I think all of them have him going to Villanova. So by the time this comes out, there's a chance that decision will be made already. There's a chance it will be to come. Obviously, we'll keep you updated on that in the Big Five Twitter. But Cope, as we're sitting here on Thursday night recording, it's still in the air. Do you agree with crystal balls that he'll be going to Villanova, or do you see him going down to Atlanta and Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I think I'll go to Villanova. I read a little bit about what is going into that decision for him, and he wants to play closer to his family. He's from the Bronx. It's about a 2-hour drive to Villanova from there, but he also has a lot of family in Atlanta as well that obviously can't go see him play when he's playing in Pullman, Washington. So he wants to play close to his family. You can't blame him for that. But when I heard that, my first thought was, it's in the Bronx. I think Villanova is a logical choice. Then I found out he had the family in Atlanta, and now it seems like it's a bit more of a toss-up. But you go to Villanova, you go to a perennial contender that if he goes there, I believe this is a tournament team that's not done building and putting the pieces together yet. You go down to Georgia Tech. They just brought in Damon Stoudemire. You're bringing an NBA guy down to the college ranks. Usually that doesn't have a great hit rate. It's also a team that's, besides the 1 year under Josh Pastner, when they won the ACC tournament in the COVID year, and then they found out that Moses Wright and Tobin, they lost to the old Chicago in the first round. They haven't been great, really, besides that year. And now you're going to be a part of a rebuild, pretty much. I don't know if he wants to, if that's what he's looking for, where the guy's potentially got 1 year of eligibility left in a COVID year. As well as, he's testing the NBA draft waters as well. This is I think, there's a 95% chance he comes back, but there's still a small chance that he's testing the waters and that maybe he wants to keep his name in there. You never know. You never know what kind of feedback he can get if he plays very well at the combine. You don't know that, but I think he'll go to Villanova. He's going to fit in exactly what Nova wants to do. And he's going to replace Caleb Daniels very nicely. A guy that can not only handle the ball in the pick and roll, but a guy that's going to be able to stretch the floor and shoot. Got to be able to shoot if you're at Villanova. TJ Bamba is going to do that for you. Some deep range, able to do it off the dribble, able to handle the ball, which you have to be in their kind of positionless system. So I think he'll fit nicely at Villanova. Going to slide right in for Caleb Daniels, an experienced guard playing 3 years at Washington State. So I believe that he will pick the Wildcats tomorrow, and he will make them a significantly better team that will look to get back to the NCAA tournament after not making it this year.
Yeah, I mean, we tweeted from the account that, could you imagine that backcourt of TJ Bamba and Justin Moore? I mean, that would be
really good.
It would be a pretty good backcourt. And we'll see what happens. Obviously, he's got family in the Bronx, wouldn't be too far from Philadelphia. He's got family in Atlanta. Obviously, Georgia Tech's in Atlanta, like you mentioned. So it'll be an interesting decision. I do ultimately think he will go to Villanova. And if he does, like you said, very, very exciting team, potentially a tournament team again next year. Could definitely see it happening with them reloading. So something to watch out for on Friday. Hopefully we get a decision like we were promised. All right, some transfer news out of the Big Five. Louis Bleachmore transferring to Fairfield. Didn't have the greatest success with the Hawks. Averaged 9 minutes a game in his lone year there. Spent 2 years at Harcum before coming over to St. Joe's. So he did play in a bunch of games for them this year, but he was a rotational player. They have a lot of guys coming back, some guys coming in. So what can you tell us about Bleachmore transferring over to Fairfield?
Yeah, so the hope is you move down in conference and strength of conference, you'll be able to play more. He's going to go to a Fairfield team that Hey, for what it's worth, they did make the MAC championship game against Iona. I don't think anybody expected them to be there, but they still got there and almost got themselves in the tournament, which is the second time that they've done that in the last 3 years, which both times, unfortunately, they lost to Rick Team with Gales. But yeah, hopefully he can play here. Didn't play a lot. Thought he made the most of his minutes when he was out there. If you remember the Penn game, the second game of the Big Five doubleheader, went to overtime. They clawed back to get a big win in overtime. He made a really big play, tipping out a loose ball
Yes.
off a missed free throw to get them an extra possession. So it was a big thing. By the way, sorry, I got them mixed up with Maris. Maris made the MAC championship, not Fairfield. Sorry about that.
That's
But
okay.
I like the energy this guy brought. He made the most of his minutes, playing defense, shooting a three when it was there, just making hustle plays, just making energy plays. So hopefully he can play more at Fairfield. And I just really wanted to say this guy's name who plays at Fairfield because he's probably the best. In my opinion, this might be the best name in college basketball. He is going to get to play with the Fairfield Stags next to one of their best players, and his name is Supreme Cook. Find me a better name than that.
Wow.
Supreme
Listen,
Cook.
you know we love our names on the show. We love our
Yeah.
interesting names. There's a lot of great college names. Basketball, obviously football too, but we're a college basketball show. That is a Supreme Cook. That
Yeah.
is, you know what?
Pretty good name.
That might
Damn
take the
good name.
cake.
Maybe if
That
we
might
get
take-
bored, we'll do an all names team or something like that.
I think that could be a
Maybe
summer
just that.
episode. I think we can talk about that. That could be a summer episode, absolutely, or at least a segment. But yeah, that's one player going out of St. Joe's, but one player committing to St. Joe's, Camden's own Desir Haskins. A little bit about him. 6'6", although he's listed at 6'8" on Max Prep, so I don't really know the actual height is,
I
but
have to figure that out.
we're going to call him small forward just to be safe. We'll meet in the middle there. Athletic forward who can defend multiple positions. He can stretch the offense. He's got some good 3-point shooting. Average over 10 points a game and a little under 5 rebounds a game with Camden this past season. According to Synergy, he shot 41.5% from 3-point land. He was on the same high school team as St. Joe's player Rasheer Fleming, as we all know and love. And he had some interest. He had some offers from DePaul, St. Bonaventure, Towson, San Diego, and St. Peter's. Listen, it's always good to keep guys home. We talked about that in the Big Five. We obviously talked about that with Temple. Camden isn't actually in Philly, but it's right across the river. It's essentially just like an extension of Philly. So it's good to have someone come to Philly, rather, especially Rasheer Fleming's teammate, which is good for chemistry purposes, obviously. And it seems like he's a pretty good player. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I like the move, and you really got to be excited if you're a St. Joe's fan. Look at the guys who coming back. Look at the guys who coming in. I mean, it's such a good blend of experience and youth, but also talent in a lot of different skill sets here. So they add Desir Haskins, another big guy who can shoot the three and play defense. And guess what? You know, if you know anything about what Billy Lang wants to do, he wants guys out there and will play the guys that will play defense and will put up threes. And Desir Haskins is going to fit that bill for. He's going to defend multiple positions, and he's got a really sweet stroke for a lefty. Pulling threes. I just think it looks better when a lefty shoots a three anyway, just more aesthetically pleasing to the eye. But it's not hard here. If you shoot and you play defense, you'll play for Billy Lang, and he fits that bill. I don't know how much he's going to play year one, just because there's a lot of experience coming back, and there's certainly a lot of talent that's coming in. So maybe this is a guy who can redshirt. I mean, Kristi Sandoko, he redshirted last year. I don't know if that was necessarily expected, but he did redshirt last year. So maybe this is another guy you do that if you say, hey, we're not going to burn a year of eligibility for you if we realize that we have all these highly touted guys coming in. Maybe you don't fit. Maybe there's not space. Because you think about it, you bring back Rear, you bring back Cameron Brown. You have Eric Reynolds, Rasheer Fleming, Kasper Klotchik. Winborn's going to come back for another year. And then look at all the freshmen. You have Isan Doko, who's going to play after redshirting. Sean Simmons is also a Philly guy. I love all the local guys they're bringing in too, which is awesome. Yeah, of course, Xavier Brown and Anthony Finkley. So there's a lot of guys that are going to be in front of Desir Haskins, and it's no problem. Guess what? Redshirt if you have to. If you're not going to play redshirt, continue to develop, and then we'll see you when you're ready. But I think this.
In 4 or 5 years from now, he can be that Cam Brown who has that extra year of eligibility. And I think his was COVID, so it's different. But
Yeah.
he can be that guy where it's like, I'm the senior leader, someone else is going to have the red shirt while I'm taking the reins. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily a bad thing to have someone red shirt.
Yeah, no, not at all. But I like the commitment here. It's a local guy, and he fits exactly what Billy Lang wants in a player. Just Steer Haskins is that guy. So really, really interesting prospect. We'll have to see what he's listed at when they actually officially release who's on the team and on the athletic department page, because I'm scouring around and the Inquirer I see 6'6", but then I look on 24/7 on Max Preps on verbal commits and it's like 6'6", 6'8". I'll let St. Joe's be the judge of that and tell me exactly what that is. But regardless, it's a big forward, defends multiple positions, and is going to shoot threes. Pretty damn good get, in my opinion, for Billy Lang.
Yeah. I mean, we can just meet in the middle and say 6'7" for now until
Sure.
we get an official word. It seems like nobody knows. We sure don't know, but we will find out at some point because it's a good get for St. Joe's and Billy Lang. So good for them. And with that, that's pretty much all we got on this one. Cope, any final thoughts before we sign off here?
No, I think I did enough talking, so I'll leave it at that.
Listen,
Be back with
it's
more
for the
news.
best.
Yeah.
Yes, we will be back.
We had a lot. I was talking a lot because we had a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
That'll keep
Hey,
happening.
listen, I don't think either of us expected to have this much to talk about in April. I mean, listen, it's right after the championship. I know there's some player movement. There's a little bit of coaching movement still. Obviously, we had the special hire of Baker Dunleavy. Listen, there's a lot going on. Big Five never sleeps.
Yeah. Well, we don't sleep in May anyway.
Well,
So,
we don't.
we're
we'll
not,
sleep
even
until
though
May.
maybe no games, we're not done
We'll
just yet. We're close. We're close, maybe, but we're not done just yet.
No, we're not done just yet. But we are done with this episode, unfortunately. So thank you all for tuning in. As always, we very, very much appreciate your love and support. If you'd like to continue to support us, make sure you like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on our social media pages at Big Five Pod. That's Twitter and Instagram. And make sure, of course, you listen to our audio only versions on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. 40th episode next time around. Big one. We'll see you then.